All right. Welcome, grade nines. This is your first lesson on the powers and exponents unit. This one is going to start at 2.1, which is called What is a Power? Okay, so uh, maybe from grade 8 or grade 7, you might have seen what a power looks like already. So I'm going to give an example right away. A power basically is a base number to an exponent. Okay, and what this little exponent really means is you're going to take this 5, this base, and you're going to multiply it to itself 3 times. And I'll show you what that means. But first, let's talk about what these parts are. Hopefully you already know what this little 3 at the top is. This is the exponent, okay? Uh, this 5 here, this guy, this is called the base. And the whole thing, okay, the whole thing, this is labeled as the power. Okay, so now you know what a power is. But what exactly does it mean? Well, let's write it out again. 5 to the 3. All it is literally is 5 times 5 times 5. Okay, so this is the power form. This is the repeated multiplication. And what I'm about to show you is called the standard form. Okay, okay. So there's 3 identities here. The power. This is called the repeated multiplication. And finally, this is called the standard form, which is what the power is equal to after you've actually go ahead and multiplied it. Okay, so now you know what a power is, what it means, and what its answer will be in the end. Let's try to look at some other bases. Okay, well, you know what? Let's look at some other examples then. Let's write this as a power. Write as a power. Okay, so this is your instruction. So let's say this is your first example. By the way, these examples that I'm using is actually from the textbook, and I will also share the unit from the textbook, and I'll upload it in the Google Classroom so you can see it there. So how do you write this repeated multiplication as a power? Okay. Well, you do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multiplication, 6 factors of 3 that are being multiplied. So you want to write this as a power. The 3 is going to be your base, and the exponent is how many of these factors you actually have, which is 6. Okay, so that's easy, hopefully. But this one is a mysterious one. How do you write this as a power? What exactly is this exponent up top here? What is the exponent? It's missing. In other words, it's invisible. My joke here is, can you see the invisible number there? No, you can't because it's invisible. But as a power, if it's not written, then it is assumed that it's a 1. Okay? So that's how you write a power, a number by itself as a power. Okay? Let's have a look at some other examples here. Um, Not going to give you the power. I'm going to ask you to write it as a repeated multiplication and in standard form. Okay? So let's have a look. What about, okay, so here's your instruction. Write as repeated multiplication. and standard form. All right, here's our first example with this instruction. Let's say you have a power 3 to the 5. What does this look like as a repeated multiplication? Well, the equal sign. How many times do you have to multiply the base 3? You multiply it to itself 5 times. I guess after that, the only thing you have left to do is just type it in your calculator and see what you get, which you should get 243. Okay? Let's go do another example. How about, give me 7 to the 4. Right, this is a repeated multiplication. Well, it'll be 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Okay? Type this in your calculator and you should get 2,401. Okay? Now, let's look at some other bases. Negative signs. So bases with negative signs. Oh, let's give this a title first. Bases and negative signs. Okay, so for example, what is the base in this power? This is negative 3 to the power 4. Now notice that the bracket does contain the negative 3 inside. So the base really here is negative 3. Okay? So you want to evaluate this, then we're going to have to write this as a repeated multiplication. So when you write this as a repeated multiplication, grade 9s, please, if the base is a negative 3 in brackets, then you're going to have to write this with negative 3 in brackets as a repeated multiplication. Okay? Don't leave that out, please. Very important. Okay? So if you multiply this out in your calculator, you type in negative 3 times negative 3, and I hope you do know how to make the your numbers in your calculators negative 3. This will be equal to simply 81. Okay, but let's give it an extra step to show you that it will be positive 81. So a negative times a negative here will be positive 9. And then once again, also here, a negative times a negative here is also a positive 9. So positive 9 times positive 9 is positive 81. Okay. Next example. Okay. What happens if you don't have a bracket around that negative 3? Well, in this case, the base is not negative 3, not negative 3. The base is simply just 3. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, what about that negative? Well, I like to call him just a hangers on. Okay. So let's say if you want to write this out as a repeated multiplication, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. The negative is going to be sitting by itself outside. In the meantime, you're going to take this 3 and you're going to multiply it to itself 4 times. Like so. And so what do you end up here? This is, we already know what, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is. That's an 81. Well, you just tack on that negative in the end. Okay? But remember, in this case, the base is just a 3, not negative 3, and that negative is just the hangers on in the end. Okay? Let's try another example here. What if you have a negative with a negative 3 And all that negative 3 is in bracket. Well, again, we already know what this is equal to. It's right up here, okay? So what does this negative do? Well, it just turns this to its opposite. Well, we know that this is equal to negative 81. Well, what's a negative of negative 81? That just turns it back into a positive, okay? So basically, I think that's pretty much all you're really going to need to know. Do your first assignment in 2.1, okay? Um, and when the assignment's talking about factors, these are called the factors, okay? The numbers that are being multiplied by. So how many factors of 3 are there here? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So therefore, the exponent is 4, okay? So again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me through the Google Classroom. Today is Monday, so actually we're going to have a Google Meet this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So hopefully you guys can be there. But otherwise, good luck on the assignment. Thank you.